Hi, everyone. Welcome to the fourth in a series of artist interviews with our Serpentine Pink cast and crew. My name is Megan Breen. I am the screenwriter and one of the co-producers of Serpentine Pink, the movie. Today we have today we have one of the four main cast members, Michael Harris. He plays Shaman in the movie. Welcome, Michael. Hello.
Hi, Megan. How you doing?
How are you?
I am grateful right now.
Grateful.
Just grateful. I'm just remembering the desert, dark sand, soles flapping off my shoes, and the sand going everywhere, and Sabina going, "Why won't you get different shoes?" Because he doesn't have any other shoes.
Such a visceral memory response. I love it.
Yeah, I was while you were talking was that the afterglow of the sunset and me thinking I was in charge and Sabina being totally focused and us getting the graveyard scene,
Okay.
which was a real which was kind of uh
So before you say that, viewers who don't know, Sabina is the one of the co-leads and Michael's main scene partner in the movie.
my brilliant
She plays Jamie. Um,
Sabina um yeah, sorry. I was
oh,
gonna
I
say
love it. I love this launching into the
nice to say.
memories of the film production. Um, Great. Well, thanks for being here. I'm so excited to talk to you. So what I've done with the past artist interviews in the past year or so, we interviewed Kristen and Sabina and Vivian and Gary. Vivian's the director, Vivian Sorensen, and Gary, her husband, who's the composer and songwriter for the songs in the movie. And those are up on the Serpentine Pink YouTube channel. And if you go to the Serpentine Pink Instagram, you can check out they are there as well. And at the link in the bio on the Instagram, Serpentine Pink Film is the handle. Yeah. So what I've done with those past ones is ask the interviewee, how do we know each other? Because it's such a special story from how we worked on the play version to the film version.
Thinking about
Decade-long process.
yeah.
And we lucked out that the OG cast, the theater cast from the Sun Assembly workshop, we got all of you guys for the movie. It's actually kind of a desert miracle.
Wouldn't have been the same with
Yeah,
one of them.
a magical group. So so we know each other through how a lot of people meet through the magical connecting powers of Ms. Olan Jones.
Oh yeah,
She brought you in to the workshop, right?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
right. When we were working on the first half,
Mm-hmm.
and at Sun Assembly Ensemble,
Mm-hmm.
and you guys, I assume you wrote that part for her.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was too much her, and I recognized in the play her entire history in the theater.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Exciting.
There was a lot.
Yeah.
I just went, oh my god, this is like a summation of the first half of her acting career.
I love that.
The play, the cast, you directing, where we were doing
Nathan
it.
directed. I didn't direct.
Oh, I'm sorry, but you were there.
Writing, yeah.
You and Nathan were a team at
Mm-hmm.
that, and very effective. And I was just thinking about that and how remarkable that was. And you know, Olan has a habit of calling me up, and
Yeah. I've got that impression that you guys, so how did you guys first meet? Did she, was it through the spontaneous combustion choir,
you know,
or No?
Much earlier,
Oh yeah.
years ago.
How?
And working in the theater in
Okay.
the West Coast here since the late 80s. We started working together on uh, independent films and different plays that were being produced by some of the companies that were alive right then,
Mm-hmm.
late 80s, early 90s. And sometimes she was the sound designer and I was playing the lead, and sometimes it was but we wound up together all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we were acting partners and sometimes we were just partners in crime. And that continued, and we had a great chemistry and enjoyed each other's company. And
You can tell just through the stage production and on film.
yeah,
It's that they have that line in the movie, we're cosmically connected, and you can
yeah, it's
tell.
a entanglement.
Hmm. So it worked out. It's very natural. It's a very natural pairing.
Yeah,
You guys do have this easy kind of eccentric chemistry.
yeah,
Um,
we're not your average. We're not the Lunts,
the
you
who?
know, the Lunts.
Who are the Lents?
Oh, what were their names? They were Noel Coward's leading man and leading lady on Broadway for 30 years. The
I should
Lunt,
know this.
Joan Fontaine, and I think that's who it was. And the guy was something Luntz. And
Okay.
they were, I don't know if it was Joan Fontaine, but that popped to mind. But anyway, they were well known on their own,
Hmm.
and they were the toast of Broadway as a couple, and they were the two leads in all of the Broadway premieres of Noel Coward stuff.
Got it.
So that's the reference.
Yeah.
Olan and I have become sort of the LA Lunts.
The bizarro version.
Totally.
Um, so great. So but then you started singing with her, right? Singing in her choir and in her opera pieces.
Yeah, about let's see, we did music stuff all along the way in different forms, but it was songs and dances of imaginary lands.
Right.
I was taking a break from acting briefly to make some money, and she knew that. She called me anyway and said, I'm doing this opera that's been composed by 12 people, and it has 14 stages, and the audience is toted around
On
in
a
a little,
train.
and it's in a monstrous, if you can imagine, uh, abandoned car dealership with
Right.
so all this massive space, and whatever it was, 9, 10, 11 stages were built, and
Oh,
the orchestra also traveled by train, and from stage to stage, and there were different composers and librettists at each one, and the cast changed slightly, and she had just called me out of the blue. I'd gotten married and moved to Panga Canyon and was raising a little boy, and was a little bit uh, out of the off the grid for a couple of years. And she called me, and she said, "Okay, I got this thing, and me and a million people have written, and you're going to be in it," which was always how she talked.
She
Uh,
brought you back. She brought you back.
she brought me back, and I and it was great. you know, we had a great time, and a lot of activity began after that. That was about 12, 15 years ago.
Wow. That's great. And I'm glad that it's so moving to see how it's grown recently as well, especially with the culmination of the movie, the
Yeah.
Serpentine Pink movie, because that you, like you said, that production was so special. So I loved what you said about how you can see. So Olin, I should have said this earlier, but Olin Jones is, she's she's a multidisciplinary artist who connects people through various projects and meetings and gatherings, but she also she plays the part of the psychic in the movie. And I wrote the part for her in the play version in 2013, 10 years ago. Oh my gosh. So that's
Yeah.
what we're talking about, Olin. But so I loved what you said about how it's watching the play version, her in the play version is kind of like seeing um her history of acting in one performance, because I remember a few comments about that production was that it reminded people of kind of the 70s style of California theater, like San Francisco style, West
Yeah.
Coast style, the
And
desert
also,
Mojave. Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but also the downtown New York
Mm-hmm.
stuff that was going on in the late 60s that she was involved in, because she was
Right.
living.
And I think that's what maybe drew her to the project. And we'd had such a good pairing when we had worked on my my singer-songwriter play at USC, that she was brought in as special forces to direct that.
Yeah.
um the songwriting Whales in Love.
It,
So I'm interested in then how, which I've asked the others as well, but so how was it to play Shaman? So you play Shaman in the movie. um he
that,
aspiring healer. He's the companion to Andra the psychic. He's the hotel manager. But how was it to play him um from the stage version to the movie version a decade later? Was it
yeah.
yeah, I'll just ask you that. Like, how did you have to change your approach in any way, or were you able to open him up in any way?
Yes. Um, a lot of things changed, and and I tried my best only to change something if it was going to make it better,
Hmm.
and my partner's work better, and make that beat in the scene better. And you know, I put a lot of thought into that, because I didn't want to, you know, a lot of plays go to film, and if you're not careful, it tanks in um, well, different kinds of ways, you know, depending
Hmm.
on are. But you know, I've done a lot of film and TV, and so has Olan. And so, can you hear that?
Mm-mm.
Oh, it's sirens. Um, so uh, I didn't have any problem bringing bringing my performance, which was kind of subdued, or for lack of a better word, in the live play version.
Hmm.
He was kind of low key, except for when he had to uh, do a job that
Hmm.
required something else. But uh, he uh, he was basically the same guy, but without any with less acting, for lack of a better term, for with less histrionics, less um less uh, less size, because you know the camera and the screen in the theater create the size,
Right.
and I know just from experience that um, uh, 70 to 80% of what they shoot of you, they want to use the close up,
Right.
you know, and the close up is a uh, uh, is the ta-da of the scene, or something, you know. It's poignant, and
Which in the play version, it's we did have this immersive experience with it, because the beautiful kind of rigorous way Nathan directed it and envisioned it, but also that space was so small. And so when you move to the desert, it's just like a vast, everything opens up, the Joshua Tree desert, the park, everything is just, it's like you're on Mars, right? It's so open
but
and vast.
it was heaven.
Yeah. So the intimacy then comes with the close up. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yes,
Okay.
the intensity of it, and the actual the dialogue, the majority, 90% of the stigmathia, you know, the pa 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 pa. Um,
What was the word you said?
Sorry,
No, I want to know.
it's Greek. It's
What is it?
in the Greek tragedies or what have you. You know, it's all very styled. The way the dialogue is written, it's written in um, different types of rhythm
Mm-hmm.
and length of lines. And one of those, which is uh,
Is that a
you
technical term?
is the rhythm of it is fierce, you know, is fierce, and it builds, and then maybe goes back down and builds again, and it's, you know, it's a technical thing that they wrote into their plays.
Mm-hmm.
It's called stichomethea, but
I've never heard that. I
we
love
call
learning new things.
we
Yeah.
call it, you know, dialogue, or you know, the two shot or the single, you
Hmm.
know. I somehow that term got stuck in my head a long time ago, and it's because it sort of sums it up for me.
I love
Uh,
that.
and yeah, yeah, me too. And I like it. And
So did you, that's, yeah, that's it's fascinating to think about that. The way that that makes me think of the way that the language changes from stage to the movie. Because what you're so great at and what you brought to the movie's pretty heavy, you know, it's dealing with very um
you can't
you know, heavy subjects like trauma and intimate partner violence and abuse and you know,
abuse,
all these very kind of
domestic,
desperate situations. Yeah,
all of
and
the
so
categories of abuse that are all in above the line of you're going to jail,
yeah,
even if there's no violence.
right.
You are going to jail if you're involved in that kind of
Right.
abuse.
And it's so it's, you know, it's the desert is so, especially the Mojave is just, it's so unsettling and disturbing sometimes. It's so wild. And what I love about your character, which I tried to do, but what you really brought out, and what I love, what Vivian brought out in the movie version is this kind of comedic relief. So Shaman becomes this kind of comedic relief. A lot of, and I
Yeah,
loved seeing the premiere of the movie at the LA
whatever.
Indie International. Oh my gosh, I need to remember what it is.
Yeah,
LA Film Fest Indie Film Showcase,
yes,
which premiered back in September. Seeing it for the first time with the audience, people were loving Shaman. They were laughing. It was almost like a comedy, the parts that you were on when you were on. And
Me
I
too.
love that part of it. But so much about Shaman is, there's kind of a fuzzy situation. Like, is he a drug dealer? Is he not? We can see that he has a lot of pills. He has a lot of, he takes Jamie, the part that Sabino plays, on a
Yeah.
peyote trip. And so
I
there's so much suffering as well. So how did you approach Shaman in terms of that, in terms of dealing with somebody who's so funny but who's also in so much pain?
um I I didn't do anything except to try and remember the lines and be sincere uh, uh, and 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 try and help the knucklehead uh, guy biker who's like one of my best friends, but
Mhm.
trying to help her
Mhm.
in the midst of her uh, uh, midnight insanity and resistance. And she's a strong woman and she's a powerful woman, and it takes a lot to get her on your side, doing anything. Her character,
Mhm.
and so, and I knew, and I remembered from when we did it on stage. I remember that she was doing like what I was doing uh in Hecuba in Sinosema,
Mhm.
was commanding the stage,
Right.
commanding the screen, and and uh and I understand that well, and knew what she was doing, and uh so obviously the choice was to go the other way with her
Right.
and make sure that my voice is heard, and let her um, let her run with it, and then come back to me with whatever, with her intensity she comes back to me with. And my job as uh her keeper, her
Mhm.
in that night um was to take it down, my job was to heal her, and keep her out of the line of fire, and try and reach her heart and her soul, and get the truth out of her about what's going on and what we need to do about it. And so I took it way down. I took it way down,
Mhm.
and it was funny in the play too, um but I wasn't able to um take it, make the regular, the up and the down,
Yeah.
so distinct and
Levels.
edged, even
Mhm.
though I hopefully I wasn't um overdoing it,
Yeah.
or
Well, I
underdoing
mean,
it.
I think it works for that because there is so much space in the desert. There's so much space, and you got to fill it. And like you said, it is um one of the most uh the biggest compliments I ever got was one of my musician friends, this incredible musician, this rock and roll guy, Patrick Dennis, who came to the opening, to the premiere.
Mhm.
He saw one of my plays at USC, and he said, you can tell that you love music because of the rhythm of the way that you write. And I think that was like, oh my gosh, that's so I love that 'cause I don't necessarily consciously do that sometimes, but anyway, so I love
but,
how in the
that's
movie,
part of you and your thought. That's just part of your mind.
yeah, it's just like a natural thing, I think, from listening to music so much. Yeah. But yeah, and I try to get that
Part
rhythm as well
of
because of the poetry of because language is such a big part of my theatrical experience and storytelling experience that I love. I want to create that type of poetic auditory experience for the audience. But I think that what I was going to say was that there's so much. It's like when Olan is trying to get me when we're writing the opera, and she's like, I think we need an aria here, or I think we need a duet here. I love that, she kind of helps me recognize that there needs to be like a separation, or a break. And I think Shaman is that break in the movie. He kind of, there's so much of this like, heavy, heaviness of the like the drive of the characters and everything, and then Shaman is just like, here like here's a a musical spurt up there, and here's a little fun little side snare over there, and
hair pulling and a lot of flushed faces and intensity. I was right in the middle of it, but I wasn't saying anything until I did.
Right.
And I would come in under
mm-hmm.
Under it, and that seemed to work pretty good, and it also turned out to be funny.
Yeah.
Or at least it turned out to be a relief of some kind. Right. You made, know it or not, that you made in all the right places.
Mm-hmm. So maybe also just from obsessively watching The Big Lebowski for years, maybe too. There's a little bit of Lebowski in Shaman as well. But I think, I just love that. I think it's such a special performance that you gave, and it is so, and it's integral to telling tragedies. You have to have that duality of comedy and tragedy, because it is present, especially, and the weird. Shaman is weird, and I think the desert really brings that out in him, and he brings it out of the desert as well because of the energies he's tapping into. But something I wanted to ask you, so in the play and the movie, but it kind of became, I love how it became kind of a highlight of the movie, is this relationship you have with Buddy the mouse, your mouse. But Jamie, we don't know if she's in her drugged state or not. She thinks that your name is Buddy, your real name is Buddy, because your name in the movie character's name is Shaman, but you're not an actual shaman. You're an aspiring healer, but nobody knows what your real name is. So I was wondering, like, what have you thought of that? Did you think, like, have you given Shaman his real name, or did you think about that at all? Or
if I have, it's not for public consumption.
I thought you might keep it secret. I thought you might keep it secret. But I thought of it.
Have an elaborate backstory for him that nobody needs to know about but me. Mm-hmm. I like to keep it that way. If you can guess anything within that, that's fun. But I would never give it up, because he is the shaman, mm-hmm. And he is, for his age and his dudeness, and his just his whole old school 60s, let's go back to another world kind of a motif. Mm-hmm. I wanted to keep him as mysterious as possible, and let Olan's character be the front person of the duo.
Right.
And my story, the part I'll tell you about for Shaman, is I know I say Shaman, it's an old habit from an old man who's dead now. And
Fine.
uh, uh, um, what was I going to say?
His backstory or his name or yeah.
Backstory. Backstory. Um, um, I kept limited who I would tell anything to, but I do have a story for him, and he's kind of, you're kind of right on with the dudishness. And other people have said that to me outside of this production.
Really?
Well, yeah, because I
I see
usually,
that, yeah.
and sometimes I'm a little heavier, and I, I, I come by it honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, and so uh, uh, he I won't tell you what part of California he cut his teeth in, but at
You are
some he
Fresno.
he
I'm just gonna
he
guess random cities.
you can guess if you want. Um he went to he got involved in psychedelic medicine when it was just to get stoned with.
Mm-hmm.
And uh and he was a young man, and he got a different experience than just getting high from it. He had uh, uh, a spiritual awakening, and from there, um, dug into as much psychedelic medicine as he could, within reason, and with help with
Yeah.
teachers. And he ended up in northern Mexico
Oh, okay. Wow.
with a band of white suit, white hat, white beard wearing Yaqui Indians, and who are all Mescalito people, and stayed there for a long time and studied with them. And uh, and that was the last streak of what he was doing before he met um, Oland's character. And I realized that was my next. There she is.
Mm-hmm.
That's my next teacher.
Mm-hmm.
That's I'm ready to move on, and there she is. She was passing through, examining the northern Chihuahua Desert, and
I
I
love that.
put myself at her feet as a student, and said, will you take me and show me what you know, and I will. I will. Uh, I'll be your apprentice as long as you'll have me. And that was, and
Yeah.
that, and we were both, at that time, we were both in our 40s or 50s
Mm-hmm.
when that happened.
Oh, that comes through really, really powerfully in the film. Like I said before, that kind of cosmic connection, and then that kind of learning from Andra, Olen's character. 'Cause she is the type of, I based her off of Cassandra, from ancient Greek myth, the idea of being a
Sure.
visionary, but also not being believed. And so you're the one that believes her, and
I,
that trusts in her vision, and
yeah, I could
and
see it. I knew she was an authentic,
right.
uh, uh, whatever you want to call
Hmm.
it.
And so much of that is that trust that you have between each other is a part of the healing process. You have to trust
Mm.
the healing process, and the healer who's kind of conjuring that, all of those elements to make it happen, that process.
Yeah,
So
and
I
to
was so
yeah,
I
go
was
ahead.
wondering what you said that you talked a little bit about how you have experience in indie film, and so Serpentine Pink is an indie film, and it was shot in about 10 days and 2 weeks, and it's you know,
It's a
it's in the middle of the desert, and it's kind of this raw experience. And so I
it's
was
a
wondering, is there anything about playing shaman in that? What was it like to film in the desert? And the desert is so healing, but it can also be extremely violent and unsettling and isolating. So was there
scary.
any kind of synchronous healing happening by playing somebody
Mhm.
who was trying to heal his own suffering as well?
Yeah, because it was the dark of the moon. We had no moon, so it was all stars and darkness.
Mm-hmm.
Shot almost everything at night, and uh, uh, and it was just the most sublime um, experience. I mean, that we were inside this giant globe of black and darkness with things of color here and there, far off in the distance. Impossible to read, but we were in outer space in a way,
Mm-hmm.
except for the creatures that roam that world, and that and my uh, commitment to Olan's character per job. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I was if we were gangsters, I was the muscle
Right.
or something
Mm-hmm.
like. And um, uh, being out there and smelling it and hearing it and the shooting stars and the minimal crew near the actors and where the shooting went on, and sound was you didn't know where sound was, you didn't know who was doing it or where they were. And Elizabeth's handheld camera work was the same. It was like she was a spook. She were,
Elizabeth Hodgman Hanks, the DP, the
yeah,
cinematographer.
or a uh, not a spook. That's not the right word, but like she wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
And but if you had a question or if you wanted to try something, or she was totally with you. I mean, and if you were doing it spontaneously within a scene, she was with you.
Mm-hmm.
She it didn't mess her up uh, uh if you went off mark a little bit to
Yeah.
uh in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
uh, so there was so much trust and between the actors and her,
Mm-hmm.
that we didn't have to be afraid of hitting our marks
Right.
or getting our right eye in this little speck of light from the car.
Mm-hmm.
Any of those things that can sort of squelch a performance,
Mm-hmm.
if you're focused on it too much. She didn't miss anything.
Mm-hmm.
She was one of the actors out there,
Awesome. Yeah.
and you couldn't see anything except the light, the indirect light on the actors. You could see shit.
Well, I mean, it makes it more immersive, right? When you're out in the desert, it's like
Oh,
you're on another planet.
it made it amazing. It was like we were
Yeah.
a monster.
I love the lighting of your truck though. Or the truck, but also your van. Your van is so incredible. Oh my gosh.
My
Um,
W Volkswagen, and I
decor inside, you
love,
driving at the wheel.
yeah, that was that was my road unit, for rescues on the road, because that's what she and I, although I was studying with her, I was her,
Andrea, you mean?
yeah, I
Hmm.
was studying with her, we were a partnership,
Hmm.
but it began and continued throughout the beginning and after the movie. In my story, um, I was her apprentice. She had things to teach me that I hadn't learned from the places I had been. She
Right.
knew she knew stuff that I had never heard of, and we liked each other.
Hmm.
So
I I kind of want a spin-off. Like I want to see what happens to Andra and Shaman, or they could have their own sitcom or something, like like the Motel Chronicles or something, or
short, or they could have their own spin-off on television, on one of the streaming channels, or
I think they
um
would probably be on FX. They would probably have an FX show.
okay, that'd be great.
Breaking Bad kind of um
I,
yeah.
I I
Well,
think
no,
that would,
Breaking Bad was on AMC. Yeah, never mind, but
yeah, but I think that would be a great idea,
wouldn't it? Wouldn't
because
that be fun? Seeing all the
because
different customers that she comes up and, oh my gosh, this is giving me ideas.
yeah,
Yeah.
great idea. I think of it when we were doing the play, but
Hmm.
I tried to stay in the moment, but I was going, oh yeah, man, spin off, yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right,
But
well, we should wrap up, but I just wanted to know if is there anything else you want to say about Shaman or the experience of working on the movie? And so
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Um, One of my top three roles, of my favorite roles I've ever been gifted with,
Mhm.
and the play is one of my favorite, and the cast, and the whole Megillah
Mhm.
uh, uh, is one of my favorite theatrical and now um, 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 because we were free.
Mhm.
We were free to do our job. There weren't a million people yelling and screaming and getting a ridiculous amount of stuff perfect before we rolled, and
Mhm.
yeah, let's go like this, and we were all on the same page, doing the same movie, and we all knew what each other, as well as crew, knew what they were doing and knew what was coming next,
Mhm.
and it felt like art and like the way movie making should feel, or the way I like it to feel.
That's amazing to hear. I love that. It really came across in the performances and the final cut.
One of my favorite characters. You want to do something with him?
So
And
fun. Yeah.
Olan, let's do it.
Yeah. I
Uh,
mean, Olan's a little busy
I,
right now
are they,
doing 10 operas. Yeah.
no,
But
no,
yeah, yeah.
but I mean, I think there's more there,
Yeah.
especially with the two girls visiting. Bring them in, or one of them, or um, I don't know. I see a lot.
We'll have a separate brainstorming session for that
Yeah.
sometime.
Well, uh,
I think people would love to see what happens after.
yeah. But
Once
I have to tell you, I had
it's
the
a
best.
process, man.
It's it's a process,
Just
man.
like you say in the movie, yeah.
Oh, it's a process, man. I have. I just want. I will close with something that's just personal to me. Working on the play,
Mhm.
and then working on that film set for that month with everyone, and in that story, uh, was one of the happiest experiences of my life. I
That's
was
amazing. I love that.
Olan and Sabina kept telling me, "Shut the fuck, shut up. Why are you talking so much?" I said, "I don't know. I'm so happy. I gotta get a grip. I'm too happy." I was, I was just, I couldn't believe my luck.
Well, it's more than luck. I mean, it's you and your specific energy and work that you put into it and your special Michaelness. Um, your Michael Shamanness. But that's beautiful. And I think that really comes across in the film and, how, Larissa, the EP and Ron and our other producer. And I think it's like a weird little desert family affair.
It was.
Yeah. And yeah, I can't wait to share it with more people, more viewers.
We,
And
we
yeah,
will.
so people watching, if you don't already, follow Serpentine Pink Film on Instagram. Go to you're on the YouTube channel right now, so subscribe to Hard Knock Productions.
I want to
Um,
tell you a thing that when Olan called and said, "Hey, I know these kids, they got to play. They're gonna do a son of Semele, and they want." I told them they should meet you, and I was like, okay. And, she told me a little bit about the part, not much about anything else. But I went, well, okay, that part sounds good. And we walked into Shandara, Olan, or just me, and you guys were there. And Nathan and you were there.
mhm.
And you guys stopped cold with what you were doing. And then you were talking to each other. Right. And I sat down and I said, "Hi, you guys." And they said, and I don't know what you said or what he said. It's something like, "Hello, Shaman," or, or, "Will you be in our play?" Or no pussyfooting around.
Mhm.
I was so,
It was definitely, you made an impression. Yeah.
but because I had a feeling that it was going to be a good thing, and
Mhm.
it is.
And look how far we've come. Yeah.
We're not done.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
not. I
So, well, thank you for your words and memories and stories. We could go on forever and ever. But yeah, let's have a brainstorming session for the spinoff. And thank you
good.
for your incredible performance and bringing your very special energy to the project. And I will hopefully see you soon.
I can't thank you enough.
Oh, it's no problem at all. Thank you.
Forward to our work in the future.
Okay. Thanks, Michael.
I
Bye.
love you.
Love you
Love you.
too.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Feel the vibes? They're coming.
I'm getting him. Yeah.